So I want to do this quick video to talk about how you, as a young man in America right now, can live a peaceful life and create the most stress-free type of lifestyle that you could possibly create in this current era that we're living in, with high cost of living, with housing crisis, with jobs barely paying anything, and with most relationships not working, university being a scam as well. It seems like everything in America right now, unfortunately, is a scam designed to either suck energy out of you or suck all of your money dry, and just keep you on this hamster wheel. And so I believe that, this is just what I personally believe. I believe that it is structured very intentionally to keep everyone slaving away while the elites continue to just kick back and relax and make billions of dollars. So again, that's just my personal belief, but the best thing that you could do, if you are a young man right now, you're trying to navigate through life, you're trying to live a comfortable life, you're trying to eventually either make enough money to live wherever you want, or you're trying to start a family at some point, this is what I just recommend doing overall, right? So this is assuming that you are in your early 20s, you're starting, you're just entering the workforce. Maybe you've been working for a couple of years. Maybe you might be in your 30s as well. Then, I'll give you my recommendations right here, right? So first thing foremost is you want to be very selective with who you allow into your life. And this doesn't just go for relationships, but it even goes for friends as well. Unfortunately, right now, we live in this era where nobody really knows who to trust. And it seems like more than ever, every single friendship you have, every relationship in general just seems very transactional, where if someone wants to invite you out to something, or if they want to be your friend or whatever, or they want to come off that way, there oftentimes is, unfortunately, an ulterior motive behind it. And that's just something that I've experienced personally in my own life, especially when it comes to money. So that's one other thing I want to mention here is, if you find yourself in a position where you are making decent money, you don't want to let everyone know about that. You don't want to be the person that is talking about oh, I got this nice raise at my job, or my business is going really well, right? Because what happens as a result of that is people, whether it's your friends, your family, it can be your girlfriend, they're going to hear that, and then they're going to look at you as the go-to person to ask for money when they are in a rough spot, right? And nothing against lending, friends money here and there if they're, if there's someone that's extremely close to you and you know that you can count on them to pay it back. But for the most part, when you have people that are reaching out to you hey bro, can I borrow an extra, $50? I'll pay it right back. Most of the time, you're not going to get that money back. And so I've had, friends of mine, every now and then they'll ask me, to borrow money. And every single time I've always, either said no, or I just didn't respond to their text at all. Just because I'm I don't want to be, because then the second you do try to help them, then they're going to ask you for more stuff. And then the second that you say no, you're going to be seen as the bad guy. So just be very selective with who you allow in your life. Be selective with who you intend to help. And especially if it's someone that is going through a lot of, if they're going through a low phase in their life, or they're always going through something, it seems, understand that they are likely putting themselves in that position, for the most part. There's exceptions where sometimes, people just have bad circumstances happen, but there's always the opportunity to improve your decisions if you want to improve a specific area of your life. So always remember that. And then, of course, when it comes to making money, you want to be very strategic with how you use your free time. So most likely, if you are a young guy watching this, you probably have the belief that going to university is a scam. I'm going to assume that most young men in America believe that. And if you are going to university, just make sure it's something that is in super high demand, and that you're going to live a comfortable life with it. So you might be going to university because you're likely going to get this high paying gig. Maybe that is the case. However, most jobs, unfortunately, especially, if it's a more higher paying job, or if it's something like in the trades, or if it involves a lot of manual labor, that can create a lot of, like stress on you, basically, right? Whether it's, like physical wear and tear on your body, or you might deal with a lot of emotional stress as well. So I hear that is a common thing with people who work in the medical field. They deal with a lot of stress, and for that reason, a lot of cheating happens to go on at with nurses, right? So there's like that whole stereotype that you probably heard, where it's like women who are nurses, they tend to cheat a lot, and that is primarily because of stress, I believe, is what, from what I hear about that. So yeah, you want to be very specific about what you're going for, and if you're not going for anything beyond regular 9 to 5, then I believe that the best thing that you could do is find if you are comfortable living, a very minimalist life, and you feel like a regular 9 to 5 job can provide that, then I would recommend find a job that pays you enough to live that life, but maybe it doesn't, involve a lot of stress. So you might have the option of getting like this, job that pays you like $25 an hour. But if you're a single guy living alone and you don't really have that many expenses, or you just kind of enjoy peace and quiet, maybe you don't, plan on starting a family right away, I personally would prefer the lower paying job that doesn't, suck up all of my time and energy, and, puts a lot of strain on my back, because then when you get home from work, you're not going to have any energy to do anything else. And so that was the case with one job that I had, a couple years back. I was working in a dollar store, and I was making like minimum wage basically for a while, until I bumped up to like assistant manager position. I was doing like 3 different jobs at once, constantly being yelled at for not working hard enough, even though I was doing multiple jobs at once, taking energy shots, running back and forth, trying to stock everything and, run the register and all that. And the amount of, mental space that took up, even when I was outside of work. And the thing about that job was I could never fully relax when I was at home, because I was always on standby, where if someone called in, or someone didn't show up to work, or someone got fired, I would be the first person to reach out and say like, hey, you need to come into work right now, otherwise you're going to get fired, basically. And so that was something that happened quite a lot, and it made it very difficult for me to work on anything outside of my 9 to 5, because I didn't have as much energy. So my next job after that, I worked in a liquor store, and I was making a little bit less money from that, but the nice thing was it was within walking distance of where I lived at the time. The job before that was within walking distance as well, but that I didn't have as much stress with that job, because it was a lot more chill. I was able to, pursue my online business on the side of it, doing online marketing and stuff, and it made it a lot easier for me to be consistent with things like posting content, for example, right? So if you can do that. Otherwise, if you want to have more money, then I recommend doing the job hop thing personally, because most jobs, they don't really pay you enough to live comfortably. And if you intend on working up the corporate ladder, the raises you'll get here and there are not going to keep up with inflation. So maybe you'll get like a 50-cent raise here and there, but it's really not going to match up with the cost of living rising as quickly as it is. So if you want to truly give yourself a raise, then the least you could do is every year or two, always be looking for that next position. Always be trying to apply for that next higher paying position that maybe pays a couple extra bucks per hour if you want to go that route. Or the other option is going to be starting some sort of online business. And why do I recommend this most of all? Well, because when you are making money online, then you don't have to deal with people, in person, which is really nice. You could work wherever you want. You could have a lot more flexibility, time freedom, money freedom, location freedom. I believe that's really the best part of doing an online business. And you could also live wherever you want. So maybe where you live, the cost of living is just outrageous, and there's a lot of division going on. There's a lot of migrants, and there's a lot of crime in your area. Well, if you have a couple extra $1,000 a month online that you're making, you can close your laptop in one location and live elsewhere for much cheaper and maybe in a more peaceful environment. Maybe you move to a small town, or maybe you move to another state altogether. Maybe you even decide to move to another country altogether where there's a lot more, you get, higher quality of life. And I've seen that, a lot of younger folks are becoming interested in the whole, digital nomad type lifestyle. I see there's like sunlight right here. But yeah, people choose to live in Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, Latin America, and they travel to multiple countries, while simultaneously living, for far less than they would in America, staying in the same place. So that is the power of having an online business. And then as far as relationships go, you want to be very selective with who you allow in your life. So most relationships do not last nowadays. That's just something to be aware of, and that's because dating apps, hookup culture, it's with hookup sites, social media, and then on top of it, you have all this propaganda being pushed onto women, and to be fair, there's propaganda being pushed on men as well. But there's a lot of stuff that is convincing us to, convincing each other to, end our relationships left and right. Like if he does this, then break up with him, or if he doesn't have a six pack, then break up with him. If he doesn't make this amount of money, then break up with him, right? If he doesn't buy you flowers every, Thursday, then break up with him. If he doesn't pay your bills, break up with him, right? So I've seen a lot of influencers, all over social media posting this type of content. And a lot of them encourage women to play games on men, to ghost them, to play this whole hot and cold dynamic. And that's making it a lot harder for relationships to actually last. Cheating is actually encouraged. So if you are going to get in a relationship, I would not go in with the expectation of, staying with this person long term, unless if you really know that it's someone that you can see yourself with long term and you can actually see the relationship working. But for the most part, most relationships are not going to last long term, and that just because of how much propaganda there is that's keeping everyone apart. So that being said, you also want to be skeptical in terms of as far as relationships go. You want to be skeptical in terms of what type of I guess you could say conditions or mood disorders she might have. So I've definitely dealt with a few women in my lifetime that had a bunch of mental stuff going on. I don't say that to be mean, but you got to protect yourself as well, and someone can make a false allegation against you. So there's a lot of things you have to look out for today. So what I find is staying single, going to work, paying the bills with your job to the best of your ability, but always focus on making more money, whether that is hopping to different jobs, doing the job hopping thing every year or two, or pursuing an online business. That's going to be the most, I believe right now, social media, online business, content creation, designing websites, AI, all this stuff right here. This is the low-hanging fruit for the average everyday person that wants to live a comfortable life today. If you pursue, one of these things, you learn a way, a skill that you could use to make money online, and you put yourself in a position where you have a lot more flexibility, and you're not, desperate for a relationship, then you're going to live a much more peaceful life compared to someone who maybe you looked up to in high school that was doing really well, that was super social, that got all the women, but they got married young, they had a kid, life is unaffordable for them because cost of raising a kid is higher than it's ever been. That leads to problems in the in the marriage, and then they divorce, and then he's paying child support for a kid that isn't his. And I've seen this exact scenario play out with people in my personal life. So you got to protect yourself as much as you possibly can against relationships, against friends, even family. just to an extent, which is, I hate saying that, but sometimes family members can turn on you as well if they don't want to see you do well. So that being said, if there's anything that you want to add to this, let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know if you disagree with anything, give us a thumbs up. And if you want to check out what I do to earn an income online, then you can check out the link down below and you can see exactly what I do step by step. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in and take care. All the best.